I've been trying to make sense of a lot of things lately between, my own issues and dealing with my anxiety and questions I have about, where I'm going with my future and stuff like that. I'm also I've been trying to, make some sense out of the political landscape in America right now because it's different, we can say. You can hear me rant about that later if you want. The other thing I'm trying to figure out is the IPCC released their 3-year study on climate change after the Paris Accord. And, the findings are really not good. I mean, I can say that, for the least, at least not good, I mean, you're talking basically they're saying there's going to be unavoidable major changes in our lives, whether, we do the right thing to try to stem the problems or whether we don't. They're saying it's going to be these massive shifts in how we live, like everyday life. So, one of the things I'm trying to make sense of right now is, how you approach these things with a positive attitude instead of looking at all the negative. Because I mean, for people like me who definitely fall on the left of the spectrum with politics, like right now we're in a dismal situation in America. And most of us don't have a lot of faith in the system and the electoral process. And what are we supposed to do about that? How are you supposed to look at that in a positive light? What I'm trying to do right now is understand that if people actually mobilize and vote, then they can make their voices heard and this and that. But then sometimes you don't even have faith in that process. So I've tried to take this from a different aspect and look at things on a grand scale and understand that. Many millions and millions and possibly billions of people throughout time have had struggles that are far worse than what people in America deal with right now. And I'm not saying people in America don't deal with serious struggle. We do, but I'm not even me. I'm a white dude. I got the least struggle out of anybody. But I understand. Doesn't make it less real for people. Even if we put it in the perspective that other people do and have had it worse, it still doesn't make it better, because we should always be striving for better. So just because somebody has something bad right now doesn't mean they should look at somebody that has it worse and be like, well, it's not that bad. It's like they can say, well, it's not as bad as that, but we should still be trying to do better. So I'm trying to look at things in a positive light in that aspect, where I say, maybe we can, mobilize the vote. But let's even say, I still look at the worst case scenarios, because that's what you do. That's what everybody does. So what I've been doing is I've been trying to say, okay, in a worst case scenario, we really do end up in a place where we don't have say anymore in things, and at all, and the people are just kind of there, under the boot. But that doesn't necessarily have to all be bad either, because there's so many ways we can give back to each other and give back to community, and we rely on each other. So I'm trying to look at it in that aspect. I'm trying to keep that in mind for the future. And as far as the climate goes, all the climate change stuff in the IPCC report, it's saying massive changes for everybody, no matter what. So, I'm trying to look at things and say, okay, well, the changes that need to be made are going to be good. They need to be made. So that's going to be difficult to go through that. The worst case scenario is nobody changes anything and it keeps going downhill and shit gets really bad. But how do you look at that in a positive light, And this is what I've been struggling with. How am I supposed to look at that stuff in a positive light? But instead of looking at it in a negative way, what I'm trying to do is say, okay, well, this is what's going on. This is how it is right now, and this is the projection of how it's going to be. Now, I mean, I can't say whether that's going to be correct. I'm not a fucking scientist. None of us can predict the future. So I'm not going to say whether that's going to be correct. But if this is what we're looking at, if this stuff over here they're saying is coming, and we're going to be looking at that, then maybe I should start making those adjustments now for the future. And that means that I have to start looking at my own goals, my personal goals, my business goals, and I have to start thinking, how is this stuff going to change in 10 years, and start thinking about it now. Now, I mean, I know I've also talked about not projecting into the future real far, because you don't want to like dwell on a future that's not going to be possible, or that might not be possible. That might just be in your head. But the way I'm looking at it is no matter what changes I look to make and what adjustments I look to make in my goals and the way I do things, and the way I conduct myself, the way I conduct business, the way I build relationships, no matter what, the changes that I would have to make in order to stay in line with the projections of what they're saying for the future are positive changes. They're good things that we should be doing anyway. So if I start making those changes, I'm actually just, moving in a positive direction for, my own life and my own well-being and the well-being of my loved ones. So that's how I'm trying to look at it. And this is what I'm gathering out of it. I've been digesting this stuff for a couple days now. And it's not real easy because, when you get, when you get something like that, like, hey guys, like the world's fucked. What are you supposed to do about that? It's not easy to look at it and say, oh, well, everything will be all right. But it's like, that's not necessarily the case. Everything's not going to be all right. And that means we just have to change, a little bit of our own perspective. And we may not be able to continue with the lifestyles we've always had. Now, that's not a bad thing. If you think about it, like the lifestyles Americans have and, a lot of the world has is very consumer, a lot of waste. These kind of lifestyles that we all have been a recent thing. Like, 150 years ago, that's not how people did it. And they didn't do it like that for 10,000 years before that. 20,000, 30,000. We didn't do that stuff. So it's like, this is a recent thing, and we're only used to it because it's all we know. So I'm trying to keep in mind that, like, it's just change. Change isn't inherently good or bad. It's just adjustment. So you need to make the adjustments. So that's how I'm trying to look at things. And it's not easy. I'm going to struggle with this for a while, and I'm like trying to sit down and make plans and figure out what the fuck I'm supposed to do, without losing my shit, without giving up on goals, without, going into crazy survivalist prepper mode, and it's like I'm trying not to do those things because I do get, I get a little bit obsessive about stuff. I get concerned about the future. I get concerned about what's going to happen for my family and for my kids and for my grandkids when they happen, and I just want to make sure that I'm doing the right things now so that things don't get fucked up for them. And one of the things I'm realizing is if you look at, a lot of situations we're kind of heading to as far as like retirement and the elderly go, we live in a country that doesn't necessarily provide immediately for the elderly. And a lot of times they just kind of get screwed over. And one of the things I look at with that is, and this doesn't blame people for not doing this, but I look at it as we have to prepare ourselves for our own future, and that we can't rely. Like I said, I'm super left leaning and very, very progressive, and I do believe that the government should take care of the elderly, and when you retire you shouldn't have to worry about anything. You've been a citizen and put your work in. But I also think that in the end you can't rely on those things because situations can change. So yeah, it's nice to think that everything will be taken care of when I get older, but the fact is that's probably not true. So it's like I need to think about these things for the future, because what we're seeing with a lot of baby boomers is kids, their kids end up taking care of them when they retire, and like, I don't want anyone to have to take care of me because I blew it. And that's the way I look at it for myself. And it's not, like I said, this is not blaming other people for their own lives or whatever. It's we've been told one thing with the system we're in, and it's adjusting out of that it can be difficult. But I think, I want to be able to take care of myself. I want to be able to provide for myself, and then I want to be able to provide for my family. And so it's like I have to think about, I have to consciously think about what does that mean in the context of, our current, again, political climate and then actual environmental climate. Like, what do these things mean for the future? And what do they mean for me? So I'm trying not to look at things in a negative light. I'm trying to look at things as, I understand that there's going to be changes made, and I'm just going to have to keep up with them. it's a struggle. It's a struggle to keep that kind of mindset. You know, I talk a lot about, you know, positivity and negativity, and you got to stay on the upside. And it's like, but this is an exact perfect example of how, when you feel that there is no upside, and when you feel that there's nothing good coming, how do you stay positive through that? And again, like I said, the positivity part of it is not the bubbliness. It's not the, hey, yay, everything's great. It's not that. It's just trying to find the way to function within your situation that's going to be best. And that's what I'm trying to do right now, is I'm trying to look at what could the best situation be. If the IPCC report is correct, there is no good situation. There's only okay, and then worse than that, and then real bad. And it's like the best case scenario with the IPCC report is still bad and very difficult to reach. So again, like, what do you do when you have a shitty situation? You try to find the best out of it and do your best within it. So that's what I'm trying to keep an eye on, you know? And I'm keeping an eye out for the worst case scenario. And what does that mean for me? And will I be ready for worst case scenario? Because again, when you're making plans, you should always be, you know, aiming for the best, prepared for the worst, and understanding that you're getting something in the middle. That's what you're probably going to get. And that's what's probably going to happen here. And I'm going to assume that's what's going to happen with, you know, the political landscape too, you know? So how do I adjust myself? How do I adjust my goals? I don't know. I don't know. This is going to be an ongoing process for me. You know, but I'm not going to get discouraged. I want to be discouraged. I really do. You know, things look bleak from my standpoint. And I mean, maybe I'm a nihilist, but a lot of people seem to echo that sentiment with me. So, you know, things look kind of bleak, but we don't give up. I mean, let's be serious. We've had it easier than any generation, like in human history. And let's not just say just our years, because, oh, things are tough. But like, I mean, like, let's take the last 100 years. The last 100 years, humans have had it better than they've ever had it throughout human history. So, you know, maybe maybe some of that might be wearing off. We might not have the comfort level we used to have. I don't know. I do know that your own happiness does not come from the exterior. So it's like that comfort level, the physical comforts and creature comforts of, like, you know, your bed and all this shit, and, you know, internet everywhere, and like on-demand cable and all these things. Like, they might not stick around forever. And honestly, some of this stuff might falter in our lifetime. Enjoy it while it's here. I'm going to do that. I'm going to enjoy it, and I'm going to continue like it's staying. But I'm going to be ready in case it doesn't. And I think that's just a safe thing to do, you know? Like I said, be prepared for the worst. Hope for the best. You know, that's really all we can do. So that's kind of what I'm dealing with right now. I'm you know, all these general struggles, and just trying to, you know, formulate how things will affect my own plans for my life and the future of my family. You know, so just trying to stay conscious of the situation, and conscious of, you know, what we're experiencing right now. You know, as human beings, we're in uncharted territory for humanity right now. You know, so don't get discouraged. Don't get discouraged. Be ready for things to change, and change doesn't necessarily mean bad. Change is only bad if you're hanging on to the old stuff that it changed from. Don't stay attached to that shit. So anytime your situation's changing, and not just with this stuff, but anytime your situation is changing, don't stay attached to what it changed from. You know, because if it's this and it's turning into this, right? If it's this and it turns into this, you can't still wish for this, because it's not there anymore. You have to accept this, and then say, this is what we're working with now. And then work within that framework and say, hey, this was nice while it was here, but here we are. and then you find the best and you figure out how to continue on from there. And that's what we do. That's what we got to do. So that's what I'm going to do. It's hard to say where things are going to go, but I guess, none of us know. Thanks for listening to me ramble, guys.